This video is for the corner to corner triangular shawl, and this is to show how to do this setup and how to do each row so that it looks really good with an umber yarn or one of the cake yarns. But I am going to show it with solid color so it's easier to see. So we will start with the setup, and you can do your corner to corner squares, blocks, any way you want. You can do them by chaining 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to start a block, and chaining up 2 to do the next block up. Or you can do it with 6 and 3. It is totally up to you how you do it. And I should give the caveat that this pattern assumes that you already know how to do corner to corner. So I'm not going to show you how to do double crochet and all that stuff. You'll have to, this is more of a advanced beginner or intermediate kind of a pattern. Okay, for your next block, you're going to do it just as you normally would for any corner to corner, chaining up 5 or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then making your block with double crochets. And for this one, I am showing it with 5. Okay, here's my new block. This is the first one. You turn it so that the first block, you're working into the back of the stitches of the first block, and leave the front of the stitches of the one that you're currently working with. Join the slip stitch, chain up 2 or 3, and make your second block. This is section 1. Okay, looks kind of like a boot. Okay, to set up, get in place for section 2, you're going to do a slip stitch into the last stitch that you did, into the side of it. I like to use that little bar, and then I slip stitch into the gap between the 2 blocks. Then I grab one of the loops of the chain, of the original chain on this is block 1, and then I do another one, and then I go into the very center. Okay, now I'm going to start a whole new block. So I do 5 or 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, make my block, okay, now this is where it could get tricky. It's keeping this forward with the fronts of the stitches facing up. You're going to take this and flip it over, and you're going to join into the edge where you just slip stitch down. I can tell you right now, it will not work if you join here. So you flip your whole first section over and join where you slip stitch down, right in between the two blocks. Yeah, come on. Oh, this is my tail. That won't work, will it? Okay, there we go. Slip stitch, and then because I've been chaining up 2, that's what I'll do here is chain up 2, and then I come up here to the top and go into the under both loops of the stitch there and do a slip stitch. Then I chain up 2 again, turn, and make my first block or first block of section 2 of row 2 of section 2. And then you join here. And then you make your second block of row 2 of section 2. So I'm going to lay this down so you can see it. And we'll go in just a little bit. Okay? And I want to point out, this is the front of these stitches on this row. And point out that on this side, I'm right-handed, so on this right-hand side, the tops of the stitches are here, and on the left hand side the tops of the stitches are over here. This is what you need. If you are left-handed, it's going to be just the opposite, but that's what you need. Half of one side needs to have the stitches going with the stitches straight up and down, and the other needs the stitches going off to the side. If you have it that way, you're good to go, and the rest of the shawl will be a breeze. So if that is not how yours looks, then you need to rip out and go back and watch the video again and come up with this configuration, because this is what works. Okay, we are going to start what I will call row 3, because we've actually done 2 rows here, connected them. And I'm going to show you how to do row 3, and row 3 is the repeat for the whole rest of the pattern. So you do whatever, chain up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or 6, whichever you're doing. Make your first block of the row. And then again, you're going to flip your work, and the rule is you're always going to be working into the back of the stitches of the row below. Keeping this face up with the stitches facing toward you. And then you just go up like you're making normal corner to corner stitches. And you continue that until you get up to the peak. Oops, I did 3. Some more yarn out here. There we go. So we are going to make a normal corner to corner block with 3 double crochets. And then we are going to add a 4th double crochet right there. And then we're going to chain up our 2 or 3. And we are going to make our next block for this side in around the extra double crochet there. I should add, when your project is small, you should not have a problem realizing that you are at that peak and doing what you need to do when you get to the peak. However, if you're doing something where you might be distracted and you've gotten into the groove and you've been doing it and you've got many rows done, so it's like 20 or even more blocks up to the peak, it is very easy to do what I'm going to show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll show you what you can do wrong. So I say this to tell you that once you get going, it's probably a good idea to just put a stitch marker when you get up to the peak to remind you not to do what I'm going to show you. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can be going along and you're watching television or whatever, and I'll show you what I did that I had to rip out. So I didn't have that in. I joined here. I made my block. 1, 2, and 3, and then I just joined here and kept going down the other side and did not catch it until I started all the way back up. And when you've got 20 or more blocks on a side, it's not fun to have to rip it out. But you can't continue when you do that. It messes up the formula. You can't keep adding. So that is how to do row 3 and all of the succeeding rows. That's part 1. I'm going to make part 2, how to do evening off on the edges to make it into a nice shawl.